Hey, have you ever tried to squeeze a full swing into a cramped garage and ended up smacking the wall or the ceiling instead? I've been there, and the frustration of buying a golf simulator that looks good on paper only to discover it takes up half my living room and still lets the ball ricochet all over the place is real. If you're hesitating because you don't want to waste space, money, or time on a system that won't actually protect your home or give you realistic practice, stick around. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's talk about the GoSports 148-foot golf simulator enclosure net. This is a complete set that touts a heavy-duty impact screen, a frame that says premium, a true blackout design, and a feature that supposedly minimizes rebound. At first glance, that sounds like everything you'd need to turn any spare room into a decent practice zone. But the question is, does it deliver on those promises when you're actually setting it up, hitting a few dozen drives, and trying to keep your house intact? First, who should even consider this thing? If you're a golfer who trains at least a few times a week, own a decent swing analysis software or a launch monitor, and have a dedicated space, say, a garage, basement, or large spare room, this enclosure could be a worthwhile add-on. It's big enough to accommodate a driver swing without having to duck or worry about hitting the ceiling, and the 14 by 8 dimensions align with the recommended clearance for most indoor swing setups. The included HD impact screen is designed to be durable enough to stop a ball traveling at 150 miles per hour, which is helpful if you're serious about hitting drivers often. On the flip side, if you're looking for a quick-set backyard net or just want to practice putts on a small mat, this package is overkill. The frame alone is a hefty piece of metal that requires careful assembly, and you'll need enough vertical height, ideally 10 feet, to avoid the ball hitting the top. Apartments, tight basements, or anyone without a ceiling that high should skip this. Also, if your budget is more in the budget-friendly tier, there are cheaper single-net options that, while less robust, might still serve a casual player's needs. Now, let's dig into the practical strengths. The first thing many buyers notice is the true blackout enclosure design. That means the netting is dark enough that you can see your ball clearly against the screen, which is especially helpful when you're using a launch monitor that tracks ball flight. In my testing, the dark net prevented stray light from washing out the ball's trajectory, making the data from the monitor easier to read. The impact screen itself feels heavier than many competing nets. It's made from a commercial-grade material that doesn't tear after a few high-speed drives, and the minimized rebound claim holds up. When a ball hits the screen, it mostly stays flat and drops, rather than bouncing back aggressively. That reduces the chance of errant rebounds hitting the frame or your furniture, a common annoyance with cheaper nets. Installation is another point that often decides if you stick with a system. The GoSports kit comes with a pre-drilled aluminum frame, a set of clamps, and step-by-step instructions that are actually readable, no cryptic diagrams. For someone comfortable with basic tools, you can have the entire enclosure up in about an hour. The frame locks together with bolts that tighten securely, and the process doesn't require any drilling into walls or ceilings. That's a nice feature for renters who need a non-permanent solution. However, the flip side is the weight. The frame panels are roughly 12 pounds each, so you'll need at least 2 people to lift and position them without risking injury. A hidden trade-off shows up once you start using the enclosure for longer sessions. Because the screen is made of a dense fabric, it can trap heat. In a summer garage with limited ventilation, the temperature inside the net can climb noticeably after a half hour of practice. You might find yourself getting sweaty faster than you'd like, which could affect your swing consistency. The design doesn't incorporate any built-in airflow vents, so you'll have to rely on external fans or open doors to keep the environment comfortable. Another practical concern is storage. When you're done with your practice, you'll likely want to take the net down to free up space. The frame's modular nature helps, but disassembly still takes time, roughly 20 minutes for a careful takedown. The individual net panels roll up fairly compactly, yet the impact screen, being heavier, needs a dedicated storage area. If you don't have a place to stash a 10-foot roll of canvas, you might end up leaving it draped over a corner, which looks unsightly and could cause premature wear. From a value standpoint, the GoSports enclosure sits in the mid-range price tier for indoor golf setups. You're paying for a larger play area, a more durable screen, and a frame that can stand up to repeated high-speed impacts. Compare that to a simple net that might break.